What is going on, the Catch fam? It is Steven here, and in today's video, we are going to be going over the must-start defenses for your fantasy football teams going into Week 15. And we certainly encourage you to hit that subscribe button if you are not already a part of the Catch fam as we enter the most pivotal part of the season, the playoff season, guys. And if you appreciate this video or any of the other videos we put out there, certainly encourage you to hit that like button too. It means a ton to the channel. But most importantly, get in those comments and let us know what is going on in your waivers. Let us know what is going on in your rosters so we can help set up your team ahead of Sunday so you can get that win in the playoffs and keep advancing and getting that fantasy football trophy at the end of the season, guys. With all that said, with nothing further to do, let's get into it. Number one defense I'm going to talk about here is the Kansas City Chiefs defense, guys, going up against the Houston Texans. Before we get into the juicy matchup of the Houston Texans, just wanted to say, guys, they were absolutely fantastic. So glad I put these guys out there for you all last week, and so glad I played them in a personal league because they had 6 sacks, 2 picks, and a house call, 15 fantasy points. They looked outstanding, and they gave up 28 points to the Denver Broncos, which was very surprising. But the fact that they still put up 15 fantasy points just tells me how absolutely dominant this unit was. They are very good at creating turnovers. Now, going forward, they play the Houston Texans, the most juicy matchup for the defense position on the season, guys. I think this is going to be a great matchup here. This is in Houston, right? But I expect that the Kansas City Chiefs are going to get up very fast. This offense is going to hit on all cylinders. This offense is a lot more explosive than Dallas. I'm not really too sure what happened in that Dallas-Houston game. Not too worried about it. I'm willing to throw it away here. I think the Chiefs are going to come in. I think Mahomes is going to light up that Houston team. And I think the defense is going to come in there and they are going to do what they do, which is create turnovers and make a lot of problems for that quarterback carousel of the Houston Texans, whether it's Drake Driscoll, whether it's Davis Mills, or whether it's Kyle Allen, or who the heck knows, right? I don't really care about who's playing quarterback for them. I think the Chiefs are going to be a smash play. Then they get the Seattle Seahawks. That game is a little bit more of a tempered expectation, but then in the championship game or Week 17, they get the Denver Broncos again, and I think that's going to be another smash play here. This is going to be in Kansas City this time, so even more potential for this Kansas City Chiefs team to just go absolutely hamburglar mode against them and just go super hard on these guys. So I love the Chiefs. Go out and get them, play them this week, stash them if you don't like them against Seattle for that 17 game. This is a good defense for you to have on your radar. Up next, talking about the Baltimore Ravens, guys. I've been highlighting them over the past few weeks, specifically about their playoff schedule, which is just about to hit here, right? Last week, though, let's talk about that first. 11 fantasy points against the Pittsburgh Steelers. They had 2 sacks, 3 interceptions. They did just about as what I thought they were going to, and they held that Steelers offense to under 15 points. They had 14 points from the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Ravens do this, man. They create a lot of turnovers. I thought they were going to get more sacks, to be honest, but don't worry. Now we got the Cleveland Browns coming up on deck, and Deshaun Watson, while he did look slightly more improved against Cincinnati Bengals defense, let's just take a pause here. The Cincinnati Bengals defense is atrocious. I've been saying that all year. They are not good at really stopping fantasy excellence on the other side. So I think Watson is going to have a rude awakening when he goes up against the Baltimore Ravens here. I think the Ravens are a very aggressive defense. I think the Ravens are a very aggressive football team, and they do really, really good things against the quarterback position. I expect some turnovers in this matchup for Deshaun Watson. I expect some sack opportunities for this Baltimore Ravens defense. And then on the other side of the ball, you're asking, okay, well, the Ravens are obviously facing a lot of issues right now at the quarterback position. Huntley might be out. Lamar's obviously out. So what's that going to do? Well, the Browns are very bad against the run, and the Ravens are looking very solid in their running back core right now. I mean, J.K. Dobbins looked excellent. Kenyon Drake, Gus Edwards, they all ate too. So I think that this team is going to be able to do what it takes to keep the score low, which is going to be good for the defense, and also just control the clock, right? And then this Baltimore Ravens defense, I think they are going to be what wins the game, guys. So put the Ravens defense in your lineup, guys. And then the weeks after that, they've got the Atlanta Falcons and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Just absolutely juicy matchups. I love what I see on deck here, guys, especially the fact that you get them in your most critical playoff games on the season. So go ahead and get the Baltimore Ravens. Up next, we got the Philadelphia Eagles going up against the Chicago Bears. And I know there was a lot of panic about these guys, maybe from the stretch of week 5 to all the way to week 12. With the exception of the 16-point game they had against Pittsburgh. But listen, their run D started to really tank. and their defense started to give up a lot of points. They didn't look like that amazing defense that we saw in the beginning of the season, where they had the 13 and 20-point performances and 18-point performances against Washington and Jacksonville and Minnesota in those early games, where they looked like just an absolute non-stop wrecking ball. And their run D just started to get destroyed by any team. I mean, we all remember that Washington Commanders game where they fed it to Brian Robinson, Antonio Gibson every play and just torched them. But listen, there was a lot of injuries on the Eagles team, a lot of big injuries up front on the D-line especially. Now they get big baby Jordan Davis back, who has been a great benefit to this team. Since he's come back, they have had 10 fantasy points in back-to-back weeks against Tennessee and the Giants. Their defense has looked tremendous, much better. That run D has really clamped down. I mean, they held Derrick Henry to like 30 yards. They did really good against Saquon Barkley. So now they go up against a very dynamic quarterback in Justin Fields, and I understand that he can make any play a big play, but he also turns the ball over a lot, and that's what this Eagles defense can do. They create turnovers. I expect this Eagles offense to get up big. I mean, the Eagles offense has been putting up 30-plus points a game over the past few weeks, and I think that the Chicago defense is in a hurting for it too. So when they get that big lead, I think Justin Fields is going to have to force some stuff, and that is when the Eagles are going to come in here like a bunch of banshees and create some turnovers. So I think they are a fantastic play this week. Then they get the Dallas Cowboys, though, so you're going to have to bench them. You cannot start them against the Dallas Cowboys, in my mind, regardless of how good they are this week. So good game script this week against Chicago, but you're going to have to bench them next week against Dallas. Up next, we got the New England Patriots defense, which is one of the better defenses on the season, ranking-wise, but they have come off back-to-back terrible performances against the Minnesota Vikings and Buffalo Bills, guys, where they only had 2 and 5 fantasy points. This is recorded before the Arizona game. I actually do expect them to have a pretty good game, at least at limiting the ceiling of this Arizona Cardinals offense. And I would expect the Patriots to have a pretty middle-of-the-road performance. But I have been eyeing this Week 15 game against the Las Vegas Raiders for a while. I own the Patriots in some personal leagues, and I like this game a lot because I think that this is a revenge factor game for Bill Belichick. I think Bill knows Josh McDaniels very well. I think he knows how to game script against him. I think he knows how to play against him. And this Raiders offense, I mean, we just saw it against that loss against the Rams. They do about 2 different things. They give it to Devontae Adams and they give it to Josh Jacobs, but they are a very dysfunctional offense. They do not really know how to do anything crisp, and they do not know how to win ball games. And I think this Patriots defense is really good against taking out the X factor, right? So I think they take out Adams about as good as you can, and I think they do good at limiting Josh Jacobs. And I think this is going to put this offense of the Las Vegas Raiders in a bit of a bind. I expect the Patriots to have a chance at big-time double-digit performance here in this game against the Las Vegas Raiders. Again, don't know what they do against Arizona Cardinals here, but I expect them to be pretty good. But I don't really give a crap. I think they're going to be fantastic against the Las Vegas Raiders. And then the next 2 weeks, they've got the Cincinnati Bengals and the Miami Dolphins. So you can't keep them on your roster after this game against the Raiders. These are 2 high-powered offenses, and the Patriots are not that good of a football team. So I would drop them after that game. I don't even think there's a reason to roster them after this game. Just talked about the Arizona Cardinals. Listen, again, this was one of my start potential defenses last week going into this New England game. I don't know what happened yet, but let's just move past that, right? Let's say that they got blown out, or let's say they had a great game. It doesn't really matter. One of the reasons why I highlighted this defense was because of the matchups they have in the playoffs. In Week 15, they get the Denver Broncos, which are absolutely miserable, just gave up 15 fantasy points to the Kansas City Chiefs defense. And honestly, the Arizona Cardinals are a better defense than the Kansas City Chiefs. So I think the Arizona Cardinals could have a big-time play against this Denver Broncos offense. And that's without saying the fact that Russell Wilson just got a concussion. He had a huge contusion on his head when he was leaving the field. I would be utterly surprised if Russell Wilson was in that game against the Arizona Cardinals. I think you're going to see a backup in there, and I expect the Arizona Cardinals to get a big-time turnover type of game. I think they get to the quarterback a lot like they have all year. I mean, they get 3 to 4 sacks a lot, and I would expect that to continue against this Broncos offensive line and bad quarterback play. Who knows if Sutton's going to be in the game, because a hamstring is a really bad injury, especially when you've got nothing really to play for. So I think the Cardinals not only are in the mood for a turnover, But guys, I said it all along. They are very good at making house calls. They are good at turning the ball over and bringing it back for a touchdown. Kansas City Chiefs just did that. Wouldn't be surprised if the Cardinals did that. I think they're a smash play this week against the Broncos. And then, guys, just looking forward to, you got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Atlanta Falcons is the next 2 weeks after that, too. And listen, I understand that some people are scared about going against Tom Brady, but we just can't be anymore. He is very mediocre this season. The Buccaneers offense is absolutely terrible, one of the worst in the league. I think that's a really good game as well. These guys will more than likely be on my must-start video in Week 16. And then they got the Falcons Week 17 against Desmond Ridder, the rookie quarterback. We'll see how he's doing at that point. I love the Cardinals' rest of the season schedule, and I love them this week against the Denver Broncos. Up next, we're talking about the Washington Commanders defense, which is coming off the bye week. They had 8 fantasy points in Week 13 against the Giants. Now they get a home game against the Giants. The Giants are kind of reeling, in my opinion, now, too, because Saquon's banged up. The Giants now are kind of really playing themselves out of the playoff hunt. I know there's still probably an avenue for them to make it, but the Washington Commanders are absolutely in the playoff hunt. They had the tie game in Week 13 before the bye week, but the Commanders did an excellent job. They had 4 sacks, they had a fumble force and a fumble recovery. I thought they did very good against that Daniel Jones offense, and I expect them to have strategized and really put up a good game plan against this Giants team in home in the Washington Stadium. I expect the Commanders to come out hot. I expect the Commanders to win this game, and I expect the Commanders defense to do an absolutely excellent job against them. If you look at what the Commanders have been doing since Week 10, 17, 19, 7, and 8, this is one of the better defenses over this past month stretch. They are number 9 on the season, including the bye week. They are a very, very, very low roster defense because of the bye week too. So go out and go hunt. If you have somebody to drop, go out and go snag them, because this is a great play against the Giants this week. Unfortunately, the weeks after this, we've got the San Francisco 49ers in Week 16. That is a very, very no-no game. Do not play anybody against the 49ers. But then in Week 17, they got Deshaun Watson and the Cleveland Browns. I think that's going to be a very important game for the Washington Commanders' playoff hunt dreams. So that's a game I am eyeing for sure, but you cannot start them against the San Francisco 49ers. Last defense I want to talk about here is under 5% rostered. It's a defense that is really for all you out there who are in some deeper leagues and where all these other defenses I mentioned might be rostered, right? Carolina Panthers, let's just be honest, guys, these are a top 10 defense. And over the last month, they have just looked absolutely excellent. They have a identity for sure, which is ground and pound football. To Chuba Hubbard, Blackshear, Deontay Foreman, and Sam Darnold can move it on his feet as well. He's a really good runner as well. And now they get the Pittsburgh Steelers, guys. Let's just first take a look at what the Panthers have done over the past month since I've referenced it, right? 10 fantasy points against the Falcons, 9 against the Ravens, 12 against the Broncos, 7 against Seattle. What they do very well is create turnovers, guys. They have had 6 interceptions in those 4 games. They were really good. J.C. Horn is an excellent cornerback, and they get to the quarterback very well, too. They have a minimum of 3 sacks over those games with a ceiling of 5 sacks. And you know the Pittsburgh Steelers give up sacks, whether it's Mitch Trubisky or it's Kenny Pickett back there. Those guys can hold onto the ball a little too long sometimes, and they can make some mistakes as well. And I think that's why this Panthers defense is a sneaky upside play here for a double-digit performance, or at least for a really good defense to get you through, again, in some deeper leagues where a lot of defenses are already rostered or already taken. I think the Panthers are a good play here. I think they match up really well against the Steelers, and the fact that, you know, George Pickens, Deontay Johnson, they're going to have to go against some really good outside corners, and I think J.C. Horn can do a really good job of shutting them down. They looked excellent against Seattle. They looked excellent against Geno Smith. I think that's a much better team with the Seahawks, and the Panthers just look flat out good on the defensive side of the ball. So I would definitely play the Panthers this week if you need to. And then the next couple weeks after that, you've got the Detroit Lions and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So definitely some options as well there, guys. I mean, again, if you need to, I think the Panthers defense is going to be a unit which we can look to in some pinches going forward, because those matchups are not terrible. I don't love streaming against the Lions, to be honest, because I think they're a very, very good offense. But the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, you know how I feel about them. They're a bad team. I would not mind streaming against those guys in week 17 in your fantasy championships. And with all that said, guys, this has been the must-start defenses for your fantasy football teams going into week 15, going into the playoff hunt. This is the most important time to pay attention to every single position, not just quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, but also defense and kicker. Guys, you have to be mindful of everything. This is it, laying it all at the foot, guys. This is lose and go home, win and bring the trophy home, right? This is big time performance right here, guys. So hope you do enjoy this video. If you do enjoy this video, really appreciate if you hit that like button. Also really encourage you to hit that subscribe button too, so you can come back and see the rest of the videos we put out every week and into the fantasy championship season, guys, and beyond as well. And if you do also, it would really encourage you to get in those comments so that we can talk it out throughout the week to figure out the best roster for your team ahead of Sunday, so we can get that fantasy win this week as well, guys. So with all that said, this is when the must-start defenses for your fantasy football teams going into week 15, and you saw it here first at the catch.